because back then too, it wasn't like the commercial gyms now where you go in and you can stay kind of invisible. You know, you can go during like weird hours. A lot of these social anxiety dudes, they'll go to the gym at like the deadest time and then tell themselves that they just like it when it's quiet, but they don't like to be around people. My day, there weren't 24-hour gyms. You had to go and it was always busy. So I learnt to be around dudes, and I remember going in there and I just felt like really uncomfortable. Like guys are benching what I would assume was big weight then, but now I would be like, yeah, it's pretty average. But at the time, it's an intimidating place. I walked in, there were just big fit dudes there. Even if they weren't fit, to me, they were very fit because I hadn't really been around that. I had just walked in off the computer. You know, the guys that I was around were pretty much passive. And then I started to see men that were direct. That's what changed the game for me. I learned the best way to be a man is a direct man. I think a lot of guys now, they're very passive. They're passive with what they want. They don't just express what they want even with a woman. They think that if they do fucking like 50 nice tasks that they're going to get laid. They think that if they do like, they go in a roundabout way, like a sneaky way to try and sneak in, like they'll pretend to be the chick's friend. They'll pretend to like fucking hold doors open for girls, but it's solely to like get her interested. That's another scarcity issue, because when you're in massive abundance, you can do that. Like you can compliment girls and that you don't have an ulterior motive. But I think a lot of guys in general with women, they do things, but it's solely to get laid. Like they'll do chores for a woman. They'll do like fucking take on shit like lend her money and do that sort of stuff. But then secretly they attach all these strings. And then even if it does happen that they get sex, like they get laid or something from it, the chick thinks like this is just like a business deal and she doesn't enjoy it. Because if you're obligated to do something, like if you love your job, say you go to work every day and you love it so much for the first 2 months, but then you realize it's now an obligation. You're like, I have to fucking go. Every morning I have to get up to go to work and I don't want to do it anymore. Like it starts to lose its interest versus something that you only do when you want to do it. And I think that happens with a lot of guys with sex with women. Like they try to pressure her or like put her in a bad position by doing a bunch of fucking tasks for her. And then she's like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. And then they start to get massive problems because she thinks that it's like a reward instead of something that's made to be enjoyed, which it is. So guys fuck up in that regard. They fuck up in a bunch of regards with women, really. And then they fuck up a bunch of regards with business. You know, a lot of guys in general, they just don't give respect to other men, specifically men that are above them. And then they'll wonder at work, like, why they don't get promoted. Because if I'm a person's boss and he's not signaling that he's going to subordinate, or he's not signaling to me that he's like below me, I would never promote him because I think that he just wants to compete with me, or he wants to fucking like make me look bad if he ever gets risen up next to me. So I'm going to keep him down incredibly low. I think that he's a threat. So a lot of guys in general don't break themselves to guys that are above them. And then they'll wonder why they fucking like stay in a junior position or at best like middle management, because you have to play the game, you know, like part of the game is this accepting your position in life, being self-aware. It wasn't until I started going to the gym that I realized like how fucking like low I was, because I was around computer nerds, you know, like I was around guys that were not that far from myself. I mean, in the regard of nerds, I was still quite low because I was very fat. So I could still get picked on by the nerds. You know, I started from a fucking very low place. So yeah, I realized later on that it pays to be direct as a guy. If you want something, you're best to just fucking say. The worst thing that can happen is you get told no.